Welcome to the second part of our analysis on first order circuits. Previously, we have seen the first order circuits and their solution against the natural response and the step response. However, we have not yet concluded with the general expression that derives the response of any first order circuit. So, in this particular lecture, we will try to see any general response that exists and if there is a mechanism that addresses this particular issue. Let us find out the general solution for step and the natural response. So all the first order circuits containing the capacitor or the inductor can have four different shapes. That is, we can have a Thevenin voltage in series with this resistance, and here we can have an inductance, or we can have a connection of the capacitor. Then we may have a shape where we have the Norton current and the resistance R alongside the capacitor or the inductor. So there are four possibilities for a first order circuit. It can be connected or disconnected with a current source. It can be connected or disconnected with a voltage source, and the circuit may have the inductance or it may have the capacitance available. So it is possible that we excite this circuit at some time instant t. It may happen that we deactivate this source and we suddenly cut the supply of this voltage source with the rest of the circuit, and we want to see how the energy which is stored in these either of these inductance or the capacitance is dissipated in the particular network. So there are four possibilities for any first order circuit, and this lecture will provide you a general pathway to find out the natural or step response of a given circuit. So let us generalize the solution of the first order circuit. Suppose that we have x of t is our unknown variable. This unknown variable, it may be a current IT for an inductor, or V of t, Vt, for the capacitor. Suppose that this is the unknown variable for our given circuit. So the differential equation that represent the first order circuit should be of the shape dx over dt plus x over tau, that is equal to k, right? Where this tau is the time constant of the given circuit. So if we have an RL circuit, then the time constant is L over R, and if we have a circuit containing the capacitor and the resistance, then the time constant shall be RC. Also notice here that we are studying these first order circuits with the sources which are DC in nature. Therefore, this X shall have a value which is constant. This means that if this X is a constant value, then at the steady state condition, or when the circuit elapses the 5-time constant, then dx over dt should be equal to 0 at that particular instant. Now if xf, suppose we have a variable xf which represents the final value of xt, then xf should be equal to k times the tau, because this particular derivative has become equal to 0. So x of f should be equal to k times this tau, which means that the final value will depend entirely on the time constant of a given circuit, right? So xf is equal to xf is equal to k of tau, and let us say this is let me rename the equations as well. So let us say that we have this one is equation number A. Let us say this is equation A, and this is equation B, right? So we can solve equation number A by using the separation of the variable separation method. Thereby dx over dt is equal to minus x over tau plus k, and this is equal to k tau over tau. Now using this b, using the expression for b, this k tau, this particular branch or this particular k tau is xf. So I can rephrase this particular equation as dx over dt is equal to minus x minus xf divided by tau, and let us say that this is my equation C, right? Now that we have this equation C available, we can multiply both sides by dt on both sides, which gives me dx is equal to minus x minus xf over tau into dt, and thereafter I can also write this as dx over x minus xf is equal to minus 1 over tau dt, and let me call this one as equation number D, right? Now if I integrate equation number D with t naught as lower limit of integration and t as an upper limit of integration, and by using u and v as variables of integration, we get x t naught to x t du over u minus xf, that is equal to minus 1 over tau from t naught to t. This will be equal to dv. This is dv and this is du. So this equation, if I solve for this particular equation, then I get xt is equal to xf plus xt naught minus xf e to the power minus t naught over tau. And this equation is the final equation that gives us a general mechanism to find out the natural or step response of any first order circuit. If we retrofit this particular thing, that this x of t, it is an unknown variable. This is an unknown variable. It could be it or vt. xf represents the final value, right? It represents the final value that will happen after the 5 time constants have elapsed. So for an inductors, if we have an inductive circuit that has, for instance, we have this circuit here. So this is the final value of the current. What should be the final value of the current if this is 10 and this is 10? Forget about the value of this inductance right now. The time instants required for an inductance to come into a steady state part is 5 time constants. So the final value after which the inductance will behave like a short circuit path, the current I shall have a final value that is equal to V over R, and that is equal to 1. So this 1 shall be the final value for this particular expression here. Same is the case for the circuit where we have the capacitance and the resistance available. In here we have, what is this X? This is the this is X. This is not X. This is X or X T naught, right? And this is the initial value of, or the initial condition of the given circuit. So if we have some current flowing here, then this will have that value. If we do not have any current flowing here, then this become equal to 0. And this is what we have seen in the previous lecture. This again corresponds to the final value here, right? This T minus T naught, or this particular part, this shows the switching time instants. It's a switching time instant, right? And this tau represents the time constant of this given circuit. So in the nutshell, we have reached the same particular point that we have derived for the circuit, first order circuit containing the inductance and the first order circuit containing the capacitor. However, this provides us a general form that can be applied on any circuit without going deeper into the derivation process of the differential equation. If we remember what is this particular equation, this particular equation can be utilized to reach those values that were previously derived using the differential equation and the mathematical manipulations. So next we want to discuss the concept of the sequential switching. So we may have a circuit where we have one switch available which is operating at after fixed intervals of time. So sequential switching is kind of a switching where the switching happens more than once. So it has two types. One, we have one switch which is operated multiple times, right? Or we may have two or more switches that are operated at different instants of time. So for example, suppose that we have so in this circuit we have two switches. The first one is this switch number 1. We turn this on, but we turn this off at t equal to 0. We have another switch which will be turned off from the circuit at time t equal to 35 milliseconds. So there is a delay of 35 milliseconds between the two switches, and hence this is a very good example of a sequential switching circuit. To solve for this particular numerical, let us find out the current I L T for a time between the switching of switch number 1 and the operation of switch number 2. That is, we need to find out the inductor current for the time period between 0 to 35 millisecond. The second thing here is we need to find out IL of t for time which is greater than this 35 milliseconds. So when both the switches have been operated, what will be the inductor current thereafter? So to solve with this particular numerical of sequential switching, we first need to draw the equivalent circuit when both the switches are actually operated. To find out the initial conditions, we shall process like this. Let us first of all find out the initial condition. For the initial condition, the overall circuit prior to the switching time t less than 0, we have this 4 and this 12 ohm resistance. There we have this 6 ohm resistance. This is 3, and because the circuit was operating in a steady state mode before we operated any of these switches, so this inductor was actually a short circuit path, and therefore this is the equivalent circuit of this particular circuit before time t equal to 0. To find out this IL, we need to do some mathematical manipulation. Here you can see that this 12 ohm resistance and this 6 ohm resistance, both of these resistances come in parallel with each other, and their equivalent resistance comes out to be equal to 4 ohm, right? So with this 4 ohm resistance, this 4 ohm equivalent resistance makes the circuit, overall circuit looks like this 4, and here we have this 3 ohm resistance. Now this 4 and this 3 ohm resistance comes in parallel with each other, and their parallel combination alongside the series combination of this 4 ohm provides us the value of the current which is flowing through this source of 60 volt here. So solving for this particular branch current I3, this I3 which is equal to IL, it is equal to 6 ampere. So this is the current that was flowing prior to the switching. So IL0 negative, that is equal to 6 ampere. To find out what is the IL0 positive, we need to calculate the time constant of this given circuit after time t greater than or equal to 0. So for t greater than or equal to 0, the circuit becomes of this particular shape. So this switch S1 is now open, so we have no connection with this voltage source and these resistances of 4 and 12 ohm resistances. However, we do have 6, 3, and then we have this 150 millihenry inductance. This switch is still closed because it has to be operated on 35 millisecond. So we have this 18 ohm resistance. So to find out what is the equivalent resistance here, we will first of all remove this inductance from this particular circuit. So when I remove this inductance from this circuit, these are the two terminals A and B that provides us a way to find out the Thevenin resistance or the equivalent resistance as seen from these two terminals. So RAB, or the equivalent circuit of this particular network, says that this 3 ohm and this 6 ohm resistance comes in series, and they come in parallel with this 18 ohm resistance. So the RAB is equal to 6 ampere, right? It is equal to 6 ohm. So the time constant for time t greater than or equal to 0, the tau is equal to L over R, where L is equal to 150 millihenry. So this 150 millihenry divided by 6 provides me 25 millisecond time constant tau for this particular network at t greater than or equal to 0. Notice here that this actually is creating a natural response here, because we are abruptly disconnecting the source from this energy storage element which is connected here, which is an inductance. So with this tau that is equal to 25 millisecond, we can say that the IL is equal to 6 e raised to the power minus t over tau, and that is equal to 6 e raised to the power minus 40 t ampere. And this holds true for time 0 is less than t is less than equal to 35 millisecond. Because we are having another switching at 35 millisecond, so then for the solution of the current greater than or equal to 35 millisecond, the initial condition will be the current that is flowing through this inductance at exactly 35 millisecond. So previously the inductor current was the current which was flowing prior to the switch at time t equal to 0. But for this particular switch S2, the amount of initial current shall be the current flowing through this inductance at time t equal to 35 millisecond. So if I play with this particular equation and I want to calculate what is the inductance current IL at 35 millisecond, I should put this 35 millisecond at this e raised to the power minus 40t, and this should give me a value IL that is equal to 6 e raised to the power minus 1.4, and that is equal to 1.4 8 ampere. So the current which was initially flowing in the inductance, that was 6 ampere, has decreased to 1.48 ampere at time 35 millisecond. Now using this as an initial condition for this second switch, so let me write this as, this is IL0 negative, that is equal to IL0 positive, that is equal to 1.48 ampere, and this is actually the initial condition for switching of the switch S2. To find out what is the actual amount of current flowing here, then we also need to find out what is the new time constant here. So for this particular circuit, the new time constant shall be based only on the disconnection of this 18 ohm resistance from the network, because at 35 millisecond we are turning off this switch S2. So this 18 ohm resistance shall be disconnected from the circuit. So the resistance as seen by the terminals of these A and B, or the terminals across this inductance, the resistance, equivalent resistance, will become equal to 9 ohm. So the new tau, or the new time constant, let me draw the circuit here. We have this 6, we have this 3, and here we have this inductance of 150 millihenry. The switch is now open, so we have no connection with the resistance of 18 ohm which was connected previously with the circuit. So after time t greater than 35 millisecond, the time constant tau, that is equal to L over R, that is equal to 150 millihenry divided by 9. So this gives me a new tau that is equal to 16.67 millisecond. So you see, with the sequential switching that is happening in this particular circuit, the tau which was calculated for the time less than 35 millisecond is different than the time constant after time t greater than the 35 millisecond. So the circuit is actually changing its slope, and thereafter the current which will be flowing through the inductance shall have a different slopes and different 5 time constant for the these two switching instants. So using this enough information we have, then the current I of t, IT should be equal to 1.48 e raised to the power minus 60 into t minus 0.03 ampere, 03 ampere, and this is for time t greater than or equal to 0.35 second. So exponential function is shifted to the right by 35 millisecond, and this is what I have written it here. So this shows that there is a shift in the exponential current by 35 millisecond. So there could be a lot of other questions that can be given from the examination point of view. For instance, we can say that find out what is the total energy which was stored in this inductor and was dissipated, and how much of that is dissipated in, for example, in this resistance or in this resistance or in this resistance. So that requires the same procedures that we have for the first order circuit containing the inductance and the first order circuit that contains the capacitance. So let us move on to an unbounded response. So far we have seen that the first order circuits contains the exponential term with a negative sign with it, which is very encouraging for the system stability, because the transient eventually has to die out. But the question is that, do we have any kind of a circuit where the exponential terms becomes positive, thereby creating instability in our given circuit, because that can lead to infinite amount of current or the infinite amount of voltage. Although if this happens practically, then this is not limit to infinite voltage or the current, because ultimately any positive exponential or any unbounded response leads to the destruction or the failure of the devices which are connected in a given circuit. But we need to see that whether or not we can have an unbounded response or not. For an unbounded response, the exponential term may become positive. But the question is how. So this happens if the circuit contains dependent sources. If the circuit contains the dependent sources, then it is possible that the net or the Thevenin resistance of that particular circuit comes out to be a negative value. For instance, let us say we have we have a capacitor here, and we have a switch here. Here we have the resistance. This is our current controlled current source. This is 4I delta, and here we have another resistance here through which the I delta is flowing. Let us say this is 20K, and this is 10K. This is plus minus 10 volt, and this is a 5 microfarad capacitor, and at time t equal to 0 we turn on this particular switch. Notice that when this switch is operated at time t equal to 0, then we need to first of all find out the Thevenin equivalent of this particular circuit at these two terminals A and B. So first of all, to find the time constant, to find the tau, that is equal to RC, this R requires the procedure that adopts the Thevenin equivalent resistance for the dependent sources, right? So the procedure that we discussed in the previous classes, in which we discussed the Thevenin method, can be adopted here. So for example, let me redraw the circuit. So we have this 10 kilo ohm resistance. Here we have this controlled current source, that is 4I delta, and here we have 20K resistance through which this I delta is flowing. Let us solve it using the test voltage method or the test source method. So the test source method requires that we connect a voltage source Vt, and we find out what is the total current which is flowing through this voltage test source into the circuit, and thereafter the ratio of this these two variables gives us the equivalent resistance seen from this particular network. So IT or the test source is equal to the current which flows through this 10 kilo ohm resistance, and that is equal to Vt over 10K. Also we have the current which flows through this 20 kilo ohm resistance, and that is Vt over 20K. And then we have the current which is fed by this current controlled current source, and that is equal to 4I delta. Now notice that this 4I delta is actually the current which is flowing through the 20 kilo ohm resistance. So I can write this as Vt over 10K plus Vt over 20K plus 4 times Vt over 20K, and that is equal to the total current which is supplied by this test source. Now if I solve for this particular numerical, and thereafter I create this R Thevenin, after the solution, if I get this R Thevenin, you can try it at home using your mathematical skills, then this R Thevenin is equal to Vt over It, and that comes out to be equal to minus 20 kilo ohm. This minus 20 kilo ohm means that the tau, which is the time constant of this given circuit, which is equal to RC, that is equal to minus 20K into 5 microfarad. So this time constant tau shall have a negative value, and this negative value means that the term associated with minus t over tau will become positive for this particular circuit, and therefore this circuit shall not have a decaying exponential, rather the exponential will go unbounded and the system is said to be unstable. Now the question here is how we can make this circuit stable. Although this is a point which is usually explained in the later classes, the concept of the stability and how to create the circuits that always operate in stable mode, yet I can give you a hint that the procedure of making a circuit stable is actually dependent on the gain of this particular amplifier. So you may find some examples in various circuit analysis books where the authors have demonstrated through examples that by adjusting the gain of these dependent sources, the circuit may be able to actually operate in a stable operating conditions. So these are some of the interesting aspects considered as far as the first order circuits are considered, that whenever we have a dependent source connected, there might be a tendency that a circuit might operate in an unbounded mode as a result of the negative resistance which results because of the presence of the dependent source in the given circuit. Now let us say this is the summary of the first order circuits. We have the elements here. So equivalent circuit at t equal to 0 positive, and then we have equivalent circuit at t equals to infinity. So for the resistance we have, for the resistance R, the equivalent circuit at time t equal to infinity is the same, because the resistance do not have any memory, and there is nothing, no energy is associated with the resistance. We don't have any concept of initial condition in a resistance. So therefore at time t equal to 0 positive, the resistance shall act normally, and same is the case even if the time elapses to infinity. It still remains the resistance. For the inductance, suppose we do not have any we do not have any current flowing through the inductance, then the inductance shall try to maintain zero current through it if there is no current here. So with initial condition equal to 0, the inductor will try to retain that value, and zero current means that it will try to operate as an open circuit at time t equal to 0 positive. But as the time elapses at time t equal to infinity, the inductor actually behaves like a short circuit, right? So for the capacitance, we have the capacitor will not allow sudden change in voltage, right? So this means that it will actually act as a short circuit at time t equal to 0 positive, because there is no constraint on the change in current, instantaneous change in current through a capacitor after the switching time after the switching happens. So the capacitor acts as a short circuit right after the switching instant at t equal to 0 positive. However, as the time elapses, the charges accumulate on the plates of the capacitor, thereby making this capacitor an open circuit at time t equal to infinity. So we have an open circuit here. So at time t equal to infinity, the capacitor behaves like an open circuit. Now if we have some inductance with initial current I flowing through that given circuit, so the inductor will try to retain the value of the current flowing right after the switching happens. So the inductor will actually act as a current source at time t equal to 0 positive, because current source has a property or a tendency to supply the constant amount of current irrespective of the terminal voltage itself. So the inductor is actually behaving in the same way. So suppose that if we have 1 ampere current flowing through the inductance, and at time t equal to 0 we turn on the switch or we turn off the switch, the inductor will try to keep the value same such that I0 negative is equal to I0 positive, and this means that the inductance at time t equal to 0 positive can be modeled in terms of a current source with some value I0, which is the initial current which is flowing here. And at time t equal to infinity, the inductor will become a short circuit alongside the current that flows through that short circuit, and that is equal to I. For the capacitor, let us say we have this voltage V0 available here, then this means that the capacitor shall try to maintain the voltage across its terminal in case of any change in the circuit topology as a result of the switching. So we have this plus minus, this is V0, and here we have a short circuit across the capacitor. So it will try to retain the voltage on its plates, but with the passage of time, if it depends on at time t equal to infinity, if there are initial conditions that prevail, then the capacitor shall have some voltage, as well as it will become an open circuit. Thereby it means that the capacitor is now fully charged and no amount of current can flow through the capacitor. So the capacitor can be replaced with this voltage V0 alongside an open circuit time t equal to infinity. And also we can write down the equations here as well, just to have a summary of the whole equation that we have seen. So resistance R is governed by V is equal to IR. Then we have, for the inductance, we have VL is equal to L di over dt, and for the capacitor we have IC is equal to C dV by dt, and later other equations can also be solved using the concept of these two equations VL and IC. So the initial conditions in a given circuit are very much crucial to understand the behavior of a given circuit. A circuit may have different rising and the falling slopes or falling exponentials if we have the sequential switching happening in a given circuit, because sequential switching connects a circuit in different topologies, like we have seen in this particular lecture, that the sequential switching is an important ingredient to understand the concept of the first order circuits. So I hope that you have enjoyed the lectures on first order circuits. With the next week we shall start the concept of the second order circuits, where we shall see that a second order circuit is as enjoyable as we have seen first order circuit. So if you have any comments, you can write them in the comments box. See you, take care, Allah Hafiz.